Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got a review for you of these little guys right here. These are the Apple Airpods Max. That's right, these are the maximal versions, I suppose, of the Apple Airpods, and they're very interesting, and I'm very conflicted, and I can't wait to tell you why. But first off, I want to thank very much my Patreon patrons who make this channel possible, just largely speaking. They make it possible for me to see a product like this, go, yeah, I think that would make for an interesting review, and go on ahead and do that. You're absolutely wonderful folks, patrons, and I really do appreciate you. Next thing, let's do some size comparison. First off, as always, we'll go on ahead and put them next to the Spatial Delica. And what we're going to see here is these are substantially larger than your average pocket knife. Here they are against a standard US ruler. What we see here is that the magnetism of these headphones have very firmly attached this ruler to them, but what we're also going to see is that these are not particularly small. The smallest that you can ever fold these guys up to is this, right? You put it in a little case here, and so even still, you are looking at about 8 inches worth of depth here. You're looking at, probably about 8 inches there, and then in terms of the actual depth on the table, you're looking still around 2 inches, 2 to 3 inches here thick. So these are never going to get particularly small, and if we put them up against a set of standard US AirPods, well, you're going to see here that, yeah, these are pretty max, right? They've gone all the way deep into the maximation here. So there is that. Let's go on ahead and talk about the good, the great, the bad, and the ugly, and I will try to work through my inner conflict with you all present. So first off, on the good side here, one of the very nice parts about these guys is the design. These are, at least to me, unquestionably pretty attractive. This is the Space Black edition, where it is, as you can tell, black, like I gather space is. That's cool. But they are a very, very nice design with nice, smooth, they look pretty cool. You look a little bit like Lobot from from Cloud City, Empire Strikes Back. Anybody? Anyways, it's a cool little design. I think these are well designed. They're nice, and they feel like very nice, high-quality objects, which I do very much appreciate. The fact that there is a lot of metal on these guys makes them feel substantially better than some of the other Bluetooth headphones I've had in my life, so that's good. Next thing, they are also relatively comfortable. What we see here is these come with a set of ear pads, and these ear pads actually have some foaminess to them, right? These compress down pretty well, and they feel pretty comfy on the head, as does this little bit of mesh up at the top here, which absolutely does have some give to it, so this feels pretty nice on there. They're definitely heavy, but they are comfortable. I can wear these guys for 3 or 4 hours without a whole lot of concern, which I appreciate very, very much. Next thing, this does come with this little carrying case sort of affair, and this case is actually more important than it seems. This case is also the power button, which is dumb, and we will talk about that later on, but it comes with this little case, and the case actually does have a little cutout for the charging port here, which is a very nice thing, but it is good, and I think it works well, and it is very good in that if you put these guys, for instance, in a backpack or something like that with the case on, they're not going to start rotating around. You're very unlikely to injure them in any particular way, except maybe this top foamy or the meshy bit here, but nonetheless, the case does work. Along the top of these guys, what we see here is there's not a whole lot going on this particular AirPod, but over here, we actually have 2 different sets of controls. Physical controls from Apple? Whoa, amazing! What we have here is this right here is the sound suppression button, for lack of a better term for it. Over here, we got ourselves a digital crown style affair, where if you press this guy down, it'll start playing music, and if you rotate it, it will adjust the volume of the music that you are listening to, provided that you are connected to a Mac or an iOS device. And this is, by the way, the playback volume for the device itself, rather than for, like, the individual application. I could be listening to my music via command line, which I tend to do, CMUS for life, but nonetheless, and it will still adjust the volume of the headphones rather than just adjusting like iTunes volume or something like that. It's not limited in that particular way, but I like that very, very much. And the fact that you can also press this button here to pause if you're listening on either Apple-supported software or if you're listening via an iPhone, iPad, something like that, it does work well, and it's very nice to have those physical sorts of things, especially if you're walking around, like, for instance, walking around the house while using these guys, wearing them. That can be very nice. Next thing, these guys support about spatial audio. The idea of spatial audio is that basically you can set these are able to detect the motion of your head. And so you can end up with something that feels a lot more like a surround sound experience, because as you move your ears, it detects where your ears are oriented and changes the sound field around you. The most parlor tricky version of this is that if you have, for instance, your phone sitting right here and then you turn your head, it can make it so that the phone audio sounds like it's coming from over here rather than from this here. In practice, it's a neat gimmick. There may be a world in which, and there may be a use for which, spatial audio turns out to be great. But for right now, in VR, once that happens, oh boy, it's going to be nice. But for the moment, spatial audio is very much a neat gimmick. But that's about all it is. But it is kind of cool, and it's still a fun thing to show off, right? Next thing. This guy is, for an Apple device, actually relatively repairable. In the run-up to this, I watched I watched a review actually from iFixit, and I'm a big fan of iFixit sort of generally, and I suppose it's worth declaring that, this kit was sent to me by iFixit, but I use their stuff a lot for knives and whatnot, but they are also a really good advocate for right to repair, and they have a whole disassembly video, or video as well as teardown, but this actually includes a couple of little nice touches for disassembly, one of which is that these ear pads are able to come off easily. They're magnetic, right? So you can just pop them off and pop on a new set without any trouble, right? And you can purchase these on your own, probably in different colors if you want to. And so that's kind of a nice thing. And all of the various areas are kind of sealed off here, which means that if you get hair or earwax or anything like that built up on the inside here, it's very easy to swap those guys out. Here's the other thing, and this is a thing I did not realize until I got kind of further into it. So you see this little hole right here? This little hole, this is a watch spring bar tool, but what I'm going to go ahead and do is, so this little hinge is on here pretty tight, but if I go ahead and I press in with this little tool here, and I think I need a slightly longer little tool to get inside of there. But what you can do, oh, come off it. I was literally just doing this. There we go. I think that's it. What you can do... Come off it, people. This is ridiculous. Here it is. Is this the one I was using? Yeah, there you go. What you can do, if you have a sufficiently long little tool like this, is you can actually pop the ear pad itself right off the headphone here. What this allows is a very, very straightforward replacement of this headpiece here. And considering that this is a piece of fabric mesh, I imagine that we will need to be replacing those at some point in time down the road here. And then you can just pop it back in, I believe, by pressing the same little button again inside of there. There we go, and now it is firmly back in place. Is this something that is going to be day-to-day important? No, it isn't. But it does offer much, much more readily the ability to replace this little bit if this gets all torn up here, and it makes it so it's not a whole part and parcel thing. In theory, you could replace one of these guys, and potentially you could do it at home. And so I appreciate that, if you could get the parts, of course, and that's the big question. But I appreciate very much those two little concessions to repairability. Having these guys be able to pop up, and being able to remove the headband without any kind of thing. This also potentially opens the realm to different varieties of this headband, right? You could maybe get one that's a little tighter, a little smaller. You could get one different colors. Who the heck knows? But anyways, I like that very much. It's also worth noting, by the way, that the headband itself has some resizing options. So if you've got a very large head, you can resize it and it'll work fine there too. So that's nice. Next thing, these guys are super easy to use. This is a very nice example of Apple actually doing the just works thing. Just like the regular AirPods, these are really great if you're using other Apple devices. Right? What happens is the first time you get them out of the package, you turn them on and you bring them next to an Apple device and it'll say, hey, those are some AirPods Max. Are those yours? Yeah. Okay, cool. They're yours now. And then when you put them on, the device that you're sitting in front of generally will pick up on that and activate it. And so I just need to, at worst case scenario, I go over to the little volume area and I select these guys here. Or I can use them with my phone. I can use them with my iPad, and I don't have to pair and unpair, etc. Apple is very, very good at making that very, very frictionless. Switching between devices is very easy. And in many cases, it's actually very intuitive in the sense that it feels like it knows that I'm trying to use my iPad rather than my phone, even though my phone is in my pocket at the same time. it's a really nice setup here. Apple has nailed that aspect of the usability in a very real way, provided you are using Apple devices. That's a great thing. These are also very good on calls. What you're going to see here is at the bottom here, we have a microphone here and a microphone here, which makes it very easy for people to hear you, right? I'm having phone calls with people, doing Discord voice chats and things like that. This was very, very straightforward. People heard me well. I appreciated very much the call quality here, and I've definitely had other sets of Bluetooth headphones, which are really great for my audio, but are really bad for other people hearing me. So this is particularly good, and that's actually a factor which doesn't sounds a little fussy, right? But if you're talking regularly with people who are hard of hearing or something like that, that can make a major difference. So that is a good thing to keep in mind. Then finally, on the good side, the sound quality of these is very good. Now, I'm going to go a step further. It is very good, but I'm going to argue that it is about as good as I can differentiate. My normal listening rig, if I'm sitting at home and I'm doing some critical listening here, is to use a set of Sennheiser HD650s running off of an Apogee Duet capture box /DAC/ADC. And with that combination of devices, which, by the way, sound as good as any I've tried, these are about the same. You can take this. By the way, audiophiles, you can absolutely jump in. Oh my God, your hearing is garbage. But for me, the sound quality here is at the similar level. I don't listen to these and feel like, wow, I've just taken a step down. Wow, the sound quality here is lower. It's just like I am genuinely unsure whether these sound as good, better than, or worse than my Sennheisers. And that probably means they are absolutely good to go. And when the signal is not being split by Bluetooth, and we'll talk about that in a minute, I would say these are in the same league as a lot of very high-end stuff. Sure, it is not lossless, but for most people, the difference between high bitrate MP3 or AAC codecs and lossless is not super detectable. There's been a lot of psychoacoustics on this, people, but nonetheless, all I'm going to say is audio-wise, for me, I like these about as much as my Sennheisers, and these are as far up the curve of diminishing returns on audio as I feel like I want to go. These sound great, and they sound way better than any of the other Bluetooth headphones I have tried, and I've tried a bunch of them. So to me, that is what is good here. The sound quality is good. They're great on calls, like the call audio is good. They're super easy to use. They've got a nice couple of concessions, the repairability on here. They've got the spatial audio gimmick. They've got a volume little button here. They've got play pause. The case on them works pretty well. It's comfortable and a nice design. To me, though, what is absolutely great about this is actually the noise suppression, or lack thereof. When you press this little button here, you go between one of two modes. One of them is transparency mode. Actually, we'll start with noise suppression. These are noise-canceling headphones. You put these guys on and you hit that button, and these are remarkably effective at knocking down ambient noise. This ambient noise could be a number of different things. I've tried them on an airplane, and oh my God, are these good at canceling airplane noise. I put these guys on, and the airplane roughly disappeared. It was remarkable. And I've tried a number of noise-canceling things. These are really, really good at it, right? Airplanes go silent in that way, but they also are able to handle other kinds of transient noise that a lot of times noise-canceling has trouble with. Like sitting in a crowded cafe, these will knock down the noise pretty substantially, partly due to isolation. That is, your ear simply not getting the sound that's coming in from around it. But also, it's able to cancel other things, like, for instance, the sound of vehicles backing up, right? That's annoying thing when a bunch of people are doing construction nearby. This is able to cancel that out. That's a bit dangerous if you're a pedestrian. You don't want to wear that mode in traffic. But nonetheless, the suppression here is really, really good. But then if you press this button again, it turns on what's called transparency mode. These are still on your ears, but now what it's doing is it's mixing the sound that's coming from the outside world in with the sound that's coming through the headphones. Even if there's nothing playing through the headphones, you're going to hear the outside world through these headphones. That is really, really good. You can hear the world just fine while wearing these. And considering that, generally speaking, you have two choices in headphones. You have a closed-back headphone, which has, well, a closed back, where there's a lot of isolation built into the headphone, and as a result, you really can't hear the world around you. If somebody sticks their head into your office and says, hey, you want to go get lunch? You're sitting there just deaf to the world, right? You're jamming out. But on the other side, you got the open cans, which means that if somebody's, drilling outside or, something like that, or you're on an airplane, A, everybody's hearing your music, and B, you're hearing everything else. This bridges the gap. These can act very, very isolating with the suppression on, or they can be very transparent and allow you to hear the outside world in a way that I think is quite good. And so to me, what is absolutely great about these, although the sound quality could be there, to me what's great about these is that sound, the ability to toggle between really excellent isolation and that transparency. That, to me, is great. On the bad side, to start with, this case is sort of okay. I get it. It makes some sense. It's relatively thin and lightweight, but at the same time, it's kind of weird, and it doesn't really... I feel like these guys are not terribly compact inside the case. I do wish that these guys kind of folded one more time or something like that, making these a little bit more compact. I also question the longevity of this case. It's kind of a piece of molded, folded plastic, origami style. It'll probably be fine, but I don't particularly love the case. It's not terrible, but it's kind of a thing. Next thing, I'm a little concerned about this top mesh in terms of just general day-to-day use. Like right now, it's been fine, and in fact, it's quite comfortable. And as I just kind of hold my fingers here, my fingers are not actually touching the top of the pod here, which makes them much more comfortable. But over time, this is going to stretch out, right? It is an elastic fabric. I also worry very much about something sharp coming in here and gouging this out and causing a major problem, although I guess at the end of the day, the worst thing you're doing is you're resting this on top of your head. And already there were lots of third-party manufacturers that seem to be filling in with, foam bits for this as well. So I guess it's not the end of the world, but it is definitely a thing. Next thing, these are Bluetooth headphones, and Bluetooth headphones will never be as high fidelity as wired cans. That's just the simple fact of life, right? Unless you have something that is sending lossless audio with a cache on these guys, it's just not going to be as nice. You are compressing the signal. In my case, I think that most of the time, it's pretty much undetectable for a lot of people. I think there'd be a lot of A/B testing that would have to be done to ABX more specifically to prove to me that people are really hearing the difference at this point, but it is definitely a thing. That said, they can be unpredictably much worse because Bluetooth it's a single data stream, right? And when you are sending both outgoing audio, that is audio from your headphones to the computer, and then audio from the computer to your headphones, you're splitting that stream. And so your audio sounds a lot worse. And this can happen in unpredictable situations. Like on a phone call, it's no problem, right? The compression of the audio signal through the codec over the phone is going to be much, much worse than the Bluetooth one is. But if you're doing something, say, like you're sitting at your desk, you're waiting for a Zoom meeting, and you're listening to music, Zoom is going to be taking a portion of your Bluetooth. It's monitoring the microphones on here. And that's going to cut down the music quality pretty substantially, right? You're going to get much lower quality in that situation than you would with a wired set of headphones. This is just a reminder. That's kind of the nature of the beast, right? But it's a reminder that Bluetooth is still a compromise with audio. And although when you're just listening, these sound really great, in other situations, they may not sound as good. And so that is a limitation. Next thing, this is a very expensive set of headphones, by the way. That's coming later, but $550. They did not include a wired cable to plug these things into a freaking headphone jack. And give you, this is from Apple, the people who are very, very good at taking headphone jacks off of things, so you have to buy 550 wired headphones. But still, they want $35 for a plug with a 3-foot cable on it that goes from Lightning to a 3.5 millimeter. That is really, really frustrating. And that cable doesn't actually charge the headphones either. These are very, very frustrating as a result to share among multiple non-Apple devices or computers. I can hook them up to my Linux computer if I want to, but I have to unpair them and repair them and such, as opposed to a set of wired headphones that just transfer over when I swap over the USB. So as a result, these end up being much better to share among Apple devices and a pain in the neck to share among non-Apple devices. And you're not going to just be able to plug these guys into a coworker's computer to give a quick listen to something, right? That may not come up for a lot of folks, but in my life, it does come up regularly, and it is pretty annoying. I'm going to be real with you. So the fact that there is no wired cable included with a $550 set of headphones is, to me, pure blind greed. And especially given that this is a Lightning cable, which, by the way, we will be coming back to later, that is just really, really ugly, right? Because Apple's the only people selling those kinds of cables. I mean, okay, Apple or manufacturing partners. That's just frustrating to me. Next thing, these guys are relatively heavy. If I put these guys down on a good old-fashioned scale here, which you're not going to be able to see super well, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyways. We are coming in here at 13.7 ounces. that is substantially more than my Sennheiser the HD650s. That is substantially more than most other Bluetooth headphones. Part of that is because there's a lot of metal here. These feel more substantial than a lot of headphones, but they are definitely heavy. And they are heavy in a sense that they're going to have some inertia, right? If you're on an airplane and you kind of lean your head over a little bit, that's actually going to end up separating one of these pads a little bit from your head as it's hanging down there, and your noise cancellation is not going to be good on that ear. You're going to get some leakage, right? And the weight also gives you a little bit more inertia. I would not want to be like jogging down the street. Well, frankly, I wouldn't want to be jogging down the street regardless. But this is not going to be great for running around out of the world wearing these guys. You can wear them around the house, but they are definitely a little bit on the heavy side, and they're not going to be great for quick head movement. So the heaviness is definitely a thing. Next thing, price on these guys. Apple is the king of overpricing everything at this point, but at the same time, holy crap, guys, $550? Really? That is the price of a pair of really good headphones and a pretty damn solid headphone amp. I mean, to be fair, people can pay a lot more for headphones. That is a skill some people have. But at the same time, these are crazy pricey. This is a very, very high price, and I feel like a ridiculously high price. At $300, I would feel very differently about these guys than I do at $550. They put a lot of effort into it. There were a lot of nice touches here, but guys, really? Really? No. The next version of this better come down some. Speaking of things that better improve next time, the battery life on these is not great. You will certainly get through a day of travel and use, but by the end of that day, you're going to need to charge. And in fact, I would just recommend that you don't expect these guys to last all week. I kind of commonly found these guys just kind of kicking around my office at home, or if I brought them to work, I found myself regularly plugging them in and seeing like 30%. And I'm like, gee, I haven't used these freaking things at all, right? And so as a result, unlike, for instance, the AirPods, which tend to hold their charge pretty well, these guys do not. Hanging these guys, for instance, off the edge of your desk until you use them is not the play. They're going to be pretty likely to be dead when the time comes to use them, right? The battery life here is not amazing. And one of the things that makes that more aggravating is that actually these guys depend on the case to shut them off. When you put these in the case, they go into a deep sleep mode that is much more battery conserving than outside of the case. Thing is, though, I don't want to have to dick with this case on any day that I am not actively going to be using these headphones, right? I want to just throw this thing in a freaking drawer until I'm out, carrying these around. But no, Apple has made the decision not to put a damn power button on the thing. And as a result, I need to put these in a case to stop them from eating battery life alive. That's a really dumb thing for them to do, in my estimation. They could have put a little slider right here that would have been just as effective and would have made these much easier for just to have them sitting on your desk at home, right? So I really dislike that choice. I mean, the case works fine, and I kind of get the idea of wanting them to go deep sleep in the case, but having that be the only time? Dude. Really, Apple? Really? And so, to me, the battery life on these guys just isn't that amazing. They're fine, and they're more than good for a nice long flight and things like that. But at the same time, it's very, very marked, the fact that you're kind of having to recharge these on a pretty regular basis. And having one more damn thing in my life I got to recharge to use, not a huge fan of that. So to me, all that of the bad is that there's no power button on these things for some damn reason. The battery life isn't amazing. The price is high. They are heavy. There is no wired cable included for $550. Really, Apple? How freaking greedy are you? You are the biggest company on freaking Earth. To be better. It has limitations with Bluetooth audio, especially if you've got multiple sources running, which is pretty understandable. I'm a little concerned about the top mesh longevity here, and the case thing, that's a little weird. On the ugly front, there are two ugly issues here. One of which is that this is an electronic device, right? But more importantly, it is a battery-driven electronic device done by a specific vendor, so there are questions of longevity here. Right, this is a problem with most modern electronics, but here especially. And at $550, yeah, you need to get there. And by the way, that's the price without Apple Care. If you buy the actual warranty, which means Apple will care, then, it's going up even from there. But nonetheless, there are a number of long-term questions. I mean, batteries, for instance. Apple charges $79 to replace a battery on these guys once. That's a bunch of freaking money. And so you figure if you're going to need to replace a battery every 3 years, you just added a couple of $100 into that. Now, by the way, I'm pulling that number out of the air, but given that the battery life isn't amazing out of the box, I kind of figure figure that's going to become an issue. The mesh top here, they don't have pricing for these headbands yet, and it could be that I can get one third party, but at the same time, dude, that's going to cost some money, right? But then you also have the other longevity issues. This is running software. It's using Bluetooth. There were going to be support questions. How long is Apple going to continue supporting these? How long will Apple continue providing battery replacements, headband replacements? How long will Apple be able to do any of this kind of stuff? That's an unfortunate thing. And plus, you've got the vendor lock-in issues, right? If you were to switch to an Android phone tomorrow, these become markedly less useful. And by the way, Android fanboys, I don't need to hear it, right? I know that that's an option. But nonetheless, there's a vendor lock-in issue here. I have no doubt, I mean, put differently, I have no doubt that a pair of high-end headphones will be functioning great in 10 years. I bought a set of Sennheiser HD 598s about 11, maybe 12 years ago now, and they're still in my office and they're still running amazingly. They still sound great. I don't know that these are guys going to be ready in 12 years. I don't think that's going to be a thing. I mean, I don't know that Apple's going to... And the thing that scares me most is that Apple stock prices go up when you buy another pair rather than when you keep your current ones running. So their kind of incentive is against long-term support. The other ugly issue is that this is using a Lightning cable. This is Apple's proprietary cable format rather than USB-C, which is also a cable format widely used by Apple. But they decided they were going to put the one that they're going to be phasing out here soon because, dude, Lightning should have died 3 generations of iPhone ago. But anyways, they put a freaking Lightning port on this thing, which means that soon, when they decide that it's finally ready and they kill off the Lightning port, I'm going to need to carry a USB-C to Lightning dongle specifically for these headphones. That's really dumb. And also having a USB-C to 3.5 millimeter plug, that would make a lot of sense, right? That's a thing that could be useful for a lot of situations. But having a Lightning to 3.5 meter plug is just like it's this and an iPhone, and that's it. Like, guys, come on, really? I feel like Apple just needs to rip off the damn Band-Aid and abandon the Lightning standard. It was good when it started, but we have better now. Stop it, Apple. So the fact that this includes a Lightning port is just another form of vendor lock-in, just another form of screw you, buy accessories from us, and that bothers me a lot. Proprietary cables are just as dumb as proprietary screws, and by the way, this is full of those too. So to me, the ugly things are that this is carrying a Lightning port, which is going to be obsolete here soon, God willing, and this has some long-term durability questions caused by the fact that there's a lot of lock-in here, as well as batteries, as well as software that we just don't know how well it's going to be allowed to age. And at the end of the day, you're at Apple's mercy on this one. Final conclusion. These are brilliant. They are supremely effective. They are also kind of dumb at a different level, right? I am confused. In fact, I am probably more confused about these items as a reviewer than I have been about anything on the channel for the last couple of years, very easily. Because at some level, I love these. They are spectacular objects with nice design, with comfortable wear, a nice case, a good interface for volume and pausing, removable ear cups and headband, easy use, good outgoing sound quality, great listening sound quality, amazing noise suppression. They're really, really, really good. In every situation I've used them in, they have been excellent tools for Bluetooth audio sorts of things. But at the same time, they're also really problematic with the freaking weird case thing, with a top mesh that I can't replace at home, with the limitations of Bluetooth, no wired cable included, very heavy construction, incredibly high price, so battery life, a terrible need of a power button, guys, really, and a lot of questions for longevity, and it's using a Lightning, which is just a proprietary port that they just should have stopped shipping years ago. Come on, Apple, really? And ultimately, kind of the way the only thing that makes sense here is my split is sort of between the now and the future. Right now, these are really awesome. I wore these guys on a recent trip, and I was in Nirvana. These worked great. The noise canceling was great. The sound quality was great. The ease of use was Apple at its absolute best. Right? At some level, right now, these are showing how good Apple can be at creating devices that work damn well when you are already in their ecosystem. And right now, these headphones are pretty damn remarkable. And even as an audio snob, these are great in that way. I'm a big fan of these headphones right now. But at this kind of a price tag, when you're getting, if this were a $250 pair of headphones, even $350, even $400, I would be feeling like, okay, yeah, that's now is enough. But at this kind of price tag, I cannot help but think longer term. Maybe this is equivalent to the Buddhist practice of meditating on your own skeleton to come to terms with your mortality. I am in the practice of seeing e-waste here on the table for something something that is new and shiny and excellent here. And who, boy, is this skeleton grinning back at me in an ugly manner, right? Because there are a lot of long-term pain points that are going to depend entirely on Apple's willingness to do the right and the green thing and support these guys. The batteries will need replaced. The mesh will need replaced. The charging port, well, that was dumb right now. There is the inevitable march of software. There's nothing stopping Apple from saying, yeah, we're not supporting these on future computers. Sorry, go buy the AirPods Pro or AirPods Max 8 or whatever. Let's be real here, 3. And, you know, with all the platform lock-in and such, I just can't see these as a long-term purchase in the same way that my wired headphones have been, even though these are easily twice the price. If this was a product that I was leasing, where I paid $100 a year for the latest and greatest, and every year I just send my current version back and they'd send me the AirPods Max 2 or 3 or 4, that makes almost a little bit more sense, right? Apple gets the product back for refitting, so it stops being e-waste, and I'm never dealing with that worn-out skeleton that's got all those issues. Or, frankly, if they were $250, then okay, great, right? I get a couple of good years out of them, I move on, no problem. But for this price, it's very, very rough to see so many potential points of long-term failure. This is a long-term price, and I'm not yet convinced that these are long-term products. I hope Apple will do the right thing and the green thing and allow them to be long-term products, but so far, their track record is kind of iffy with that kind of thing. So my final conclusion so far is if you're looking for these mostly for listening and a wire isn't sinful for you, then these are not the play. If you are just looking for a great pair of headphones to listen to music, then honestly, you should get a great set of headphones and a great headphone amplifier, and you'll still pay half the damn price, right? You'll have amazing sound for years across platforms with replaceable parts, and there will be very little to go obsolete. If you just want good headphones, you can get headphones that will outlast 2 pairs of these damn things for a half of the price. And so, and frankly, you can pick up a set of like actual AirPods for your on the go and your kind of needs for your teleconferencing, right? They'll work great. And all of that is going to be way less than the cost of these guys. But if you are a person who needs Bluetooth, you want to be wireless, you're a person who needs noise cancellation, you're on planes regularly, and you've got a lot of money to throw at the question, then these become a lot more compelling because these are the best Bluetooth headphones I've tried, and I've now tried a bunch, right? I've gotten Sony versions, I've tried Bose, although Bose, that was a long time ago. Maybe they're better, but but I've tried a bunch of different wireless headphones from Apple and otherwise, and these are 100% the best of them. They are a really excellent tool for a very specific set of problems, and the ability to toggle on and off the outside world. The sound quality here, it is really, really great, and so I just don't freaking know. My final conclusion is I am confused, right? I love them as tools. I love them as headphones. They have served me very, very well. But I hate some of the things they represent of overpricing and planned obsolescence and vendor lock-in, these things that kind of suffuse these guys. Yet they've done a couple of things that make me feel a little bit better about it. They've made for easy replacement of headphones, right? Of ear cups, right? They could have been more Apple, but they put the freaking lightning port on there. I really don't know. These are magnificent to me, and they are disgusting to me. And I want just as much to toss them in the void as to freaking cherish them for the rest of my life. And at the end of the day, I don't know where that leaves me. But what I do know is that these are a bunch of freaking money. Right? And I think for a lot of people, that's going to be the biggest factor, right? You can get a great pair of headphones for a bunch less money. And at the end of the day, unless you really need all of the vendor beauty, like the specific interaction with the Apple stuff, unless you need the beautiful design, unless you need all of the things in here, you should probably get something cheaper. And we can hope that next time around, Apple is going to be a little bit more proactive in using real ports and allowing all of these things to be user replaceable, so I don't have any of the questions, or at least so I have fewer of the questions that I do right now. And hopefully for AirPods Max 2.0, I won't be quite as confused. But for the moment, I still don't know. I love them. I hate them. I think I hate what they're symbolic of more than anything. But at the end of the day, they've been really nice tools for me, and they could probably be nice tools for you if I don't freaking know. So anyways, there you go. That is my final conclusion. I don't freaking know. I think I've told you what... I don't know. Apple, come on. You could have saved this. You were the chosen one. Anyways, I hope this has been interesting to you at the very least, and hopefully you freaking know. But at the very least, have yourselves just an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.